Stuck in a dream world of your own making? Don't worry, you're not crazy. Fantasy can be an enjoyable escape from stress. But what happens when the coping mechanism once used to distract from worries becomes an addiction that perpetuates the very issues that prompted withdrawal in the first place? You have to make the choice to quit daydreaming. Most are familiar with the struggles of drug and alcohol addiction, but there exists another covert foe that ensnares millions within the confines of their own thoughts called maladaptive daydreaming. Dr. Ellie Sommer, the professor of clinical psychology who coined the term, described the condition as extensive fantasy activity that replaces human interaction. The dissociative disorder is also characterized by vivid daydreams with developed characters, scenes, and settings that make it difficult to complete everyday tasks and fall asleep at night. Those who struggle with the disorder may also experience an impulsive urge to dissociate with reality, causing them to perform repetitive movements, make facial expressions, and whisper and talk while daydreaming for long periods of time. If you can relate to any of these descriptions, I want to assure you again, you are not crazy because there are millions of people out there just like you. In fact, the difference between you losing a grip on reality or nipping an unhealthy mental habit in the bud depends on whether you choose to see addictive daydreaming as a constructive coping mechanism or a counterproductive, destructive habit. So if you're tired of being stuck in your head, but sick of feeling like you're on the verge of going out of your mind, stay tuned. This is Chase. All her life she dreamed of being a star, and she felt somehow, after auditioning for a talent show, she was one step closer to making her dream a reality. That is, until the chants of the crowd cheering her on morphed into one distinct voice, ripping her out of her fantasy. "Chase," her mother yelled. "Hello? Can you even hear me? You need to wake up and quit daydreaming." As the words rang through her ears, Chase opened her eyes and began to brace for the sinking feeling that was developing in the pit of her stomach. When she scanned her surroundings, she was still confined to her small bedroom, situated in a remote town of little importance and subject to an audience of one, if she counted the reflection of herself in the mirror. The young girl's dreams were just that, a figment of her imagination with no tangible existence outside her mind. But even though she was way past the age of playing pretend, she could not help herself. So she resigned from reality and created her own little universe in her head. The irony was, Chase's constant daydreaming robbed her of real life experiences that could actually help her achieve her goals. While she knew this was true, she just couldn't shake loose from her fast-paced facade that brought her actual life to a screeching halt. So she became complacent in her passivity and convinced herself, though she could never live out her dreams in real life, she had a world of her own in her mind where she could fulfill her deepest desires. What Chase didn't realize was by cutting herself off from reality to live in her imagination, the very thing she found freedom in was entrapping her in a spiraling cycle of failure. So the more she daydreamed, the more enslaved she became. Noticeably, Chase's problem wasn't caused by dreaming too big. In fact, those dreams were probably placed on her heart for a reason. No, her main issue was the fact that she tried to fulfill her aspirations in her own strength, which obviously was not good enough to give her the outcome she desired. So instead of developing the skills she did have to help her get to her desired destination, she withdrew from reality, replacing the possibility of reaching her goal with a counterfeit substitute that was only a pitiful remnant of the real thing. Sadly, there are a lot of people like Chase in the world, individuals who have given up on actualizing their dreams, people who have allowed themselves to become complacent with wishful thinking and fantasizing. But daydreaming, if abused, gets you nowhere. So let's talk about dreams. Everybody has one, whether it's a desire to be the CEO of a major corporation or the aspiration to be the first doctor to come up with a cure for cancer. Most of us have visions for our lives that we would love to achieve before we die. And so, in this context, a dream can be defined as a profound ambition or deep desire for something. Daydreaming, on the other hand, happens when a person tunes out reality when their minds wander off. On most occasions, the daydreamer is fully awake but not aware or tuned into their surroundings. This phenomenon can be perfectly summed up by the saying, he was sitting in class, but his mind was a million miles away. Let's set the record straight. Daydreaming is completely normal, but excessive fantasizing is a symptom of a much larger problem. Whether we want to acknowledge it or not, there are millions of people who are dragging through a less than satisfactory life and living out their desired reality through a fantasy they have cultivated in their heads. While this kind of behavior is expected and even tolerated in children up to a certain age, by the time we grow up, we are expected to put off play pretend and deal with whatever circumstances life brings our way. The elephant in the room is that a lot of grown adults struggle to do this. Just like some people turn to external substances like drugs and alcohol to fill the voids in their lives, others retract inwardly and use their minds to imagine a world abundant with the things their real life lacks. Both types of coping mechanisms are equally damaging and addictive. If you're watching this video, you've probably already realized maladaptive daydreaming is destructive. And now, chances are, you're probably wondering, how can I stop? But this isn't a story about how I realized I needed to get out of my head and try harder to achieve my dreams. Nor is it a tale about how I learned to be content with who I was and what state my life was in. To cut to the chase, what I discovered was that by chasing vain dreams, I put myself in a situation that I, in my own power and strength, could have never gotten out of. That's when God stepped in, opened my eyes, and pulled me out of my self-induced nightmare. After he woke me up, he showed me how to renew my mind through his word and transformed my thinking patterns. In time, he uprooted the toxic beliefs that had kept me bound and rewired my train of thoughts to align with his word. Today, I am free from mental bondage and living out the story that God has illustrated for me, instead of shutting myself off from the world. Now, I no longer yield to the urge to withdraw from reality. I have been set free, and I believe you can be delivered too. The first step in the right direction? Acknowledging that you can't do it on your own. If you're interested in hearing more about my own journey to freedom, consider checking out the link in the description. Also, if you'd like me to make more videos outlining the strategies I use to overcome my addiction to maladaptive daydreaming for good, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave your questions in the comment section. Thanks for watching.